Okay, so the FNAF movie, am I right? Hated by critics, loved by fans. At least, most fans. I've seen some fans not enjoy the fact that this movie diverges so much from the canon of the games. And I get it. But on that same note, doesn't that make this kind of fun? There's a whole fresh landscape here that's completely open to theorizing, and yet, it's not that often I actually see people theorizing about this movie. And at first, I wasn't finding much to theorize on either. What, Vanessa's a robot? Thanks, MadPet. Mike is an Afton? These are more just hypotheticals or predictions. Except Vanessa being a robot, that's just, I don't know what that is. I myself have a lot of predictions or guesses about certain details in this movie and how they might be paid off later. None of those, though, were worthy enough of an entire video being made on the topic. That is, until now. Being a FNAF book fan, I think about the books a lot. They have so much world building, so much mythology, so many intertwining themes and concepts that I love. To me, they really do define FNAF from a narrative standpoint. The games are the games, but the books are the story. The movie already took ideas from the novel trilogy, mostly noticeable in the way it ended. The whole concept with the drawings is the exact same, and so is Afton being dragged away by the other animatronics after he's spring-locked. This is fine and all, but I see fans wiping the sweat from their foreheads because thank God the movie didn't delve into the more stupid and overcomplicated ideas like Remnant, one of the most infamous concepts from the books. But what if I told you, Remnant was in fact already in the movie? Remnant can more simply be defined as the very essence of a person. The soul, composed of one's experiences they've had throughout their lifetime. I have a whole other video going over this topic way more in depth, so watch that if you really want to, I guess. The main thing I'm going to focus on here is memories. Memories are remnant because they are remnants of the past, a moment in time that remains frozen in your mind, a time you can always return to and watch play out in your head all over again. Mike's dreams are of a specific memory, a very traumatic memory that has a lot of negative emotion attached to it. Returning to the movie taking inspiration from the books, the Fazbear Fright series has a lot of focus on negative emotions and the kinds of supernatural impacts they can have. The main antagonist of the series, Eleanor, is a being who is solely focused on gathering as much remnant within herself as possible to become more powerful. The easiest way for her to achieve this is by feeding off of negative emotion, the negative parts of one's soul, to sustain herself and become even stronger. According to the character Phineas Taggart, negative emotions seem to have a quicker and more powerful impact on reality. That's not to say love wouldn't also have some effect if given a longer period of time, but that'll be relevant later. Eleanor, having become so powerful by the end of the series, has essentially created another realm out of her memories that she can freely travel through, as if traveling through time itself. Detective Larson, the main character of the epilogues, had been stabbed by another being composed of a lot of remnant earlier in the story, and could connect to and enter the spiritual realm of memories, following Eleanor through it. Interestingly, there's a moment where Larson pushes a character out of the way of a moving train, which is a callback to one of the stories, Blackbird, where a character was thought to have been hit by a train, but was found alive at the end. This implies that Larson, traveling through a bubble in time, managed to change the outcome of the story. Does the concept of changing the outcome of something sound familiar?
I can't explain it, but when I'm here, I feel closer to Garrett. My dreams are more vivid, and it's like I can almost...
Change what happened?
You want to save Garrett, that's why you're really here. To change what happened.
If Mike has been returning to the same memory over and over again every night for over a decade of his life, what might happen as a result? If memories are an integral part of a person, part of the essence of their soul, housing and cultivating the emotions associated with them, there's quite a lot of remnant overlapping and being contained in the same place. Let's take a look at a concept similar to this in the Tales from the Pizzaplex story Somnophobia. Within this story, the main character, Sam, has become horribly afraid of dying after his father passed away in a motorcycle accident years ago. What the plot ends up entailing is Sam finding a way to return to happier memories of him and his dad while he was still alive, and deciding to spend more and more time there. This essentially creates a realm out of Sam's own remnant, one that is housing his memories and emotions, causing a drastic shift in Sam's personality in the real world. Near the end of the story, Sam is forcefully confronted again with the memory of his father's death, which then begins to loop. This always reminded me of the ballpit from Fazbear Frights, in which spirits are trapped and being forced to relive a tragic memory over and over again, allowing the evil within it to be sustained by the amount of agony being created. Each victim is trapped within a looping memory of their own death, and it's enough power to create another realm within the pit. This is how the main character of Into the Pit, Oswald, quote-unquote time travels, since it's actually just him accessing another dimension made up of the memories of 1985, one he can interact with as if he's actually there. This remnant, this energy of life, is becoming more powerful with each memory and tragedy being stacked on top of each other. Now, isn't Mike also forcing himself to relive a tragic memory over and over again? Given the kind of power looping memories have had in the past with this series, what sort of effect could this create? What if Mike, through concentrating so much of his remnant in one place, through revisiting this memory repeatedly for years on end, strengthened the power of it enough to create another realm out of it?
I don't know how it's possible that you're here like this in my dream, but
The missing children, being spirits, have also been able to link to the spiritual realm that Mike has created. Inside the pizzeria, this is their realm, the place they died, and the place their ghosts have remained. The remnant has concentrated throughout the whole building, also giving it life. The movie makes it clear that Freddy's itself is alive, with objects moving on their own, like the kitchen fan or the door, or the souls messing with the technology and electricity inside the building. In the real world, the effects of Abby's drawing only take place once it is pinned to the wall of the building, because the building is something that children are directly connected to in spirit. Just like the fourth closet, the children were influenced by what they saw on this drawing, altering their perception of reality and the events that truly took place. In Mike's second last dream, the Golden Freddy spirit draws the same depiction of a happy spring bunny in the ground. The very next dream Mike has is the one where everything has changed. His brother wasn't taken and his family is still happily intact. Notice that this drawing has the same power both times it's used. It changes a tragedy into something false and happy, manipulating the people affected by it. Now pay closer attention to the drawing Abby makes at the end. On it, you can spot 4 familiar children, but one is unfamiliar. The Golden Freddy spirit is absent. In his place is a drawing of Garrett. In Mike's final dream, Garrett helps manipulate Mike into giving Abby up.
They love her, Mike, and she loves them.
In a sense, this is another child who is now under the influence of Afton, just like the rest of the missing kids. Perhaps Abby includes him in the drawing to break him out of it. But why would this be necessary? Well, Remnant is the essence of life, right? Eleanor wants it to give herself more life, more power. In the novel trilogy, Henry loses his daughter and then gives life to a replica of her through his own remnant, his memories of her, his love for her, and his grief over losing her. Like I mentioned before, negative emotions like rage or agony seem to have an immediate effect, but love takes time. What is grief if not the memory of what you once loved? And what happens to love when it's channeled into the same memory, the same person over and over again for half of someone's lifetime? I think that Mike's memory of Garrett, within this realm, has been given life in and of itself. The character Charlie in the novels is alive because of the extent of Henry's emotions and memories being channeled into her, wishing to bring her back. Although she might not be the original Charlie, she was made and given life in her image. I think it will end up being revealed that the same has happened to Garrett. His original soul moved on, but a new spirit, formed out of his memory, has been created. Because of the memory being altered, Garrett doesn't die in Mike's final dream. Although it was scrapped, there was a scene filmed after this of Garrett appearing to Mike in the pizzeria, warning him of Afton's presence before running off. For the very first time, Garrett has appeared outside of Mike's mind and in the real world. I think that because Garrett does not die in the final dream, it allows this memory, the spirit of him, to choose to exit the realm he was trapped in. At the very end of the movie novel, the scene of Mike eating dinner with Abby transitions into him eating with his brother and parents. The happy memory that he ended off with has stayed with him, and in some sense, he did change the outcome and managed to save his brother. But what would this mean for the future? In the novels, Afton is fascinated by the concept of creating and sustaining life, wanting to know more about Charlie, a being who is created purely out of someone else's memory. I think if Afton were to come to realize what Mike has achieved, technically having created life, he would begin to hunt Mike down for a new reason. I think Afton becomes that much scarier when he's not hunting the main character just to kill them. He actively wants them for his own personal reasons, to use them for something. Afton, as smart as he may think he is, always misunderstands how life and the human soul work. He tries to experiment with and use Remnant without even grasping what Remnant really is. Remnant is, as defined by the character Dr. Talbot in the Fazbear Frights epilogues, the mixing of the tangible with the intangible, of memory with the present. People and things that are lost, it makes them almost real again. The thought of someone living on through memory is really beautiful to me, that no matter who you've lost, as long as they meant something to you, they'll still be with you. Afton will never be able to fully grasp this, having never truly loved anyone and has only used others for personal gain. And like all of his other counterparts, in trying to understand and control what he cannot, he will ultimately lead himself to his own demise. So that's my prediction for the direction these movies might take. How exactly the thing with Garrett would play out in the future, I'm not sure. I'd love for a reveal that Mike thinks he's been in contact with his brother's spirit, only to realize it's been a projection of him created by his own mind the whole time, and the actual Garrett has already moved on. I could also just be totally wrong about all of this. It's definitely a theory that feels more out there, but I really wanted to make a video on this anyways. I wish I could have made this longer, but there's just not as much to say yet before the sequels, given that they're not just going to completely prove this wrong. If they do, oh well. I don't regret writing this, it was fun. I think the theorization scene for the movie needs to become a little more active in general. If any of you have ideas to add or want to talk about your own theory for the movie or predictions for the next, go ahead and comment. I'd love to hear about it. Anyways, my pony's like, yes, Remnant is in fact in this movie. Mike's dreams are literally what Remnant is. It is him returning to his memories, and he is inside his memories and interacting with them and seeing the family he lost. Remnant is memories. It's in the movie. That's what Remnant is.
It's like I can almost...
Change what happened?
Okay, hold on, I have an addendum. I just thought of this right now. What if Vanessa drew that picture of the missing children and the happy spring bonnie, and that was her way of coping with what she saw, because she saw her father commit the murders, and she tried to cope with it by drawing something happy instead, by turning the tragic memory into something happy, and it unknowingly had effects on the actual spirits of the missing children, and since then, that happy spring bonnie has been used in ways to change a tragedy into something happy instead, even though it's fake.